Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. By Jackson Aurelia. Jackson Aurelia. Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. Proc it Jackson Aurelia. T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force. Now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and cash from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game. Give it to you easy like you're Resi in the bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like Malphite planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force podcast. I am back. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this lovely evening. Thank you so much for watching on this Monday, 6/22. If you're brand new to the podcast, please check us out every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at twitch.tv/T-Force Podcast. Don't forget to go check us out on our website at trinityforcenetwork.com. You guys can check out the LCS Rundown, the OzLOL Podcast, the 4 Wars Podcast, Sheen Procs, Battle Arena, and the Trinity Force proper. I almost forgot.
Oh, this show.
I know.
How could you forget
the flagship
just
show?
Assumed.
Wow.
Right. Everybody's already listened to this. You guys can check us out. We release twice a week. We have 4 podcasts, 8 different community pieces that you can get into. We have a TeamSpeak. We have a subreddit that's /T-Force Network. We have a ton of stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to us. We are very excited to bring this podcast to your ears. So I'm going to run down the host. Punch is here.
Hey, everybody.
Cheer is here.
What's up?
DeClawd is here.
Howdy.
Screw my roll chiller got asked second today. Usually we have a third Days and Told is here, but she had to step out because if you guys don't know, patreon.com/T-Force Network. We release a Champion Select podcast, an 8th piece of the network for $10 a month. She's off recording the new episode. And if you haven't already, first and only announcement we're going to talk about tonight, please go visit the straw poll on the reddit.com/r/T-Force Network to vote for the 80 carry they're going to talk about. Now, if you missed the Morgana episode, they had the #1 Morgana player in the world on there. That was a fantastic episode. Actually, they brought a lot of information, and there was only like 50 of you that got that. Out of the thousands that listened, there's only 50 of you. Like, you're missing out on a ton. And we have the #1 or #2 new player coming on for the next podcast, and we're going to definitely pick up the next 80 carry and mid and support. I mean, guys, we got this taken care of. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm back ready to be podcasting. So you guys excited as I am?
I can feel the excitement.
Almost. It's rubbing off, I was kind of,
Contagious.
regular coming in, then you started talking, and now I'm hyped.
Yes!
Oh, I'm so ready. I'm so ready to podcast now.
Let's go. Patch 5.12 is at the PBE. It is a cycle right now. Normally, we wouldn't be able to talk about patch 5.12, but I said, fuck it. I'm the boss. I'm making the rules tonight. So we're jumping right now.
You're on the rules.
Yeah. No, we're going to jump
Tentative.
Yeah, tentative changes.
Yes.
I think they may change.
Isn't the patch been scheduled for the 24th, though? I thought I saw that earlier today from MooBeat.
Yeah, it probably is. So pretty much what we're going to see here is what we're going to talk about on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we're probably just going to, we're just going to blow through everything, and it's going to be a short podcast.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we'll have
Setting ourselves
context.
up.
I'm sure there'll be some changes that we've missed, or they aren't stated here as well.
Of course, these are all
Usually
tentative changes, and these are our opinions. I want to make that clear. I think after 270 episodes, you think people would realize that these are our opinions, and they may not always be right.
Opinions, anecdotal evidence, whatever else you want to call it. It's just people that have played this game a whole lot.
A little too much, let's be honest here. Let's just jump right into the changes, because there's the change that I want to talk about first and foremost. Well, I really want to talk about the Elise changes. Chira, are you up to date on the Elise changes?
Not particularly, but I'm looking at him right now, and looks like she's getting some health back on that passive.
Yes, this is a lot easier to read when you're actually not looking at MooBeat's site. But if you guys want to follow around Surrender at 20.net. So Spider Queen, the passive is going to be renamed to Spider Queen from Spider Swam.
Swarm. It should
Swam.
be Swarm.
Why does it say swam?
Why does
Because
it say Swam?
Spider Swam. You know what, Adam? I was going to call you out.
It was
I think I like
renamed.
Spider Swim better.
No. It was renamed Spider Queen from Spider Swam.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Right.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be Spider Swarm?
It was Spider Swarm.
I like
Yes,
Swam
it
better.
was Swarm.
But I will say Spider Swim works, especially after last week's pool party thing. So
Full party
Yeah.
skins, yeah.
Makes
It-
perfect
it-
sense.
Maybe it's intended.
No,
Maybe.
there's no way that has to be. That has
it's
to be.
swarm.
It's a little guy at a pool, you see the
Are
little
you, a
spiders.
wiki? Are you looking on a wiki?
No, I'm typing the movie.
Oh, okay.
You're asking him?
No, I just said. I said, "Oh, I'm okay." Swam.
No,
been
just
swam this whole
tell
time?
him Moobeat, fix your shit.
That's pretty much what it is. Basically, what they're doing to Elise is they're making her spiderlings more a piece of her kit than they were before. Because before she went in there and there were spiderlings, but you never really noticed them. You never noticed them really doing extra damage unless you were at like that high level of Elise and you knew how many spiderlings you had coming. Now they're making it so you get more spiderlings. You do things to get your spiderlings. They do more damage. They do different pieces. And Moobeat just told me I'll swam you.
Well, that is that a threat or is that a promise? I don't even know.
I don't know. I wouldn't risk it. I don't want you to get swam.
Okay, so Spider Swam has been renamed Spider Queen. Tooltip now displays the bonus on-hit magic damage that was previously on R's tooltip. New
The ultimate,
effects.
yeah.
Attacks in Spider form now heal Elise for 4, 6, 10 plus 0.15 AP. So that's Spider basic attacks.
So she gets some health back for attacking stuff now.
Yay.
As opposed to
From
when
the
her
little
spiderling.
spiders.
So to put this into
But
context,
she lost it from W, didn't she?
Right. Which is the next change.
Which
Yes.
is the next change, yes.
Elise is
Skittering
no longer
Frenzy.
healed by her own or spiderling attacks while active. That is your W. So they're moving some of the heal to her passive from the W active.
So yeah, like I said, so right now, W, Spiderlings gain 5% attack speed. The active increases attack speed by 60% for Elise and her Spiderlings for 3 seconds. So again, the Spiderlings are gaining attack speed as you level up W. Repel, new effect. After descending, Elise's personal spider attacks have their bonus increased by 40, 55, 70, 85, 100% for 5 seconds.
That's pretty cool. So she kind of gets like a little sheen proc or something. But at 5 seconds, never mind, it's 5 seconds worth. So she gets a little steroid after popping down.
Yes.
So,
it is.
what are the
you
personal?
think, do I want to do more damage or do I want to hold on to this to get away?
Well, what are the personal spider bonuses besides the self heal? Now it's on her passive.
yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Does that apply? I mean, wouldn't think that would apply to the attack speed because you have to activate that, and that would be
she-
ridiculous.
Well,
I mean,
No, it's
movement
per-
speed.
it's
from-
personal. Spider attacks, everything she's doing is gaining that extra damage as long as she's in spider form.
All right,
Right.
so maybe it does
gets
affect
movement
the
speed.
attack.
Well, I
speed
mean, it
package.
says Elise. Okay, yeah. So Elise's attacks, like her own personal, not her Spiderling's personal, but her own personal spider attacks, have the bonus increase.
Now, since this doesn't say basic attacks, that means Q gets a giant increase in damage, right? It would get a 40% increase in damage as soon as she drops for 5 seconds.
Yes.
scale to 100%.
How does that not make Elise like grossly overpowered?
That's very
Well,
scary.
it's gonna make her be able to all in a bit harder if it's gonna buff her
Hold on.
damage by that much.
you
Real quick.
Go ahead.
She gets 25 movement speed in spider form. Is that double too?
it
It
just
says
says
her attacks.
No, it's just attacks.
That's
yeah.
attacks. Okay. All right. It's not just all effects. Okay. Good.
They're also changing spider form just so we can have the whole discussion here. Their tooltips updated to go along with the passive change. Essentially, she's not healing anymore. The ultimate has been moved over to her passive, so she has the healing effect earlier, which should make her jungle clear a little bit better because she's been primarily being played out of the jungle.
Out of the jungle.
But my question here is, what is stopping Elise from maxing E at this point, other than the fact that it might make her jungle clear a little lower? Because you're maxing E, which means you can gank more often, and you're gaining a larger chunk of burst damage when you pop down. So, Chira, from playing Elise, if E was a max for a while out of jungle Elise. So, is this stopping her from maxing E?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily see it as stopping her from maxing E because if you look at it now, like the personal spider attacks and their bonuses increased. I can see that as meaning that her passive bonus healing is actually going to increase by that amount too. So if you're getting that big of a boost in health potentially, she didn't really have that big of an issue staying sustained out of the jungle. But if her repel in spider form actually does give her more lifesteal, that's a significant amount of health that you're getting back from just auto attacking stuff. what I mean, you can't pop your W and get the bonus anymore, so it's not like you're just going to be able to pepper yourself back to full health. But I could see the E max still being a thing. I especially they've taken so much damage off of her Q, and if your W isn't giving you the bonuses when you're hitting W in spider form, I could see E being
rank it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I could see E kind of taking the cake for...
Another piece that we forgot in this is that her Spider Queen passive, when Elise's mage abilities hit enemy, she gains a dormant Spiderling of max 2. So
But that's how it's always been. That's how it's always been.
Was it?
It's every time that you cast an
I could have
ability...
swore it was just over.
Whenever you were in human form, if you casted an ability, you would get a Spiderling, but...
Well, I'll just make myself
Right.
look stupid here with what Elise
It's
does.
all right.
This is why
But
we have Chira.
she gains like a dormant Spiderling of a max of 2, and she could have more than 2 Spiderlings in the past. So, but
So that you did bring up a change. Good job.
yeah. So you did it. You got it,
Yay,
buddy.
guys, I'm so good at this. Yeah, right.
Well, what do you think about Red Elixir? Picking that up sometime and just to
Chucking
synergize
it on
with the
her early?
passive.
I mean, it could
Yeah.
work. Again,
Does she
I
have
don't
that
know.
much problem where she would need it, or would this pretty
I
much just
doubt
band-aid
it'd
everything?
be that. I doubt it'd be that big of an issue. It's just I do think that's going to slow her speed down a little bit. And like I said, sustain necessarily wasn't her issue. She already had a pretty nice amount of sustain when her Spiderlings were giving her health back on hits, and you could use them to tank. So it's one of those situations, if you can't pop your W and still get your lifesteal bonus, or get like an improved lifesteal bonus. If W's removing the bonus from your auto attack, then what's the point in dropping down from repel and then pressing W, because you'll immediately lose the bonus?
Why would you lose the bonus, though?
It said on the W that she loses her bonus when W is popped.
You mean the healing?
Oh,
Yes.
No, that's just the...
Oh, no. It would
No.
be active. Okay, so yeah, fine. She gets a massive bonus.
There is no healing here. The healing's just been moved to her passive,
It's
so there's
baked
no
into her
active
passive.
force. Yeah, there's
Gotcha.
there's no
Okay,
passive.
so that works fine. Yeah, then this is gonna. I at this point could see her maybe even maxing EWQ.
But with the current, so even all these changes to Elise and making her more powerful, does this really put her in contention behind Gragas, Ekko,
I doubt it.
Hecarim, Rek'Sai, yada yada yada?
well,
I doubt it.
with Gragas's nerfs, we could segue to that real quick and see if that would make it.
And until
More
I
of a
get to
decision.
see how the new Elise sort of plays anyway. Like the big part of her issues before these changes is that they reduced her damage by so much early, and the early game is really what she had going for her. Like early mid game was by far her strongest point in the game, and it was so strong that she was the AP version of Lee Sin, and that if you were good with her and you knew what you were doing, you could be such a menace early that you could get your team ahead to the point where when you transitioned into that late game peel bot having high CDR.
Yankos rode that to become the first blood king when that was the case.
Yep.
He had Elise, and that's how he did it.
So I mean,
That's
that,
100% correct.
the issue where they took a lot of power from her Q, they took some power from her W, it slowed down her clear speed quite a bit, and then it became a situation where Elise couldn't be that great 1v1 duelist that she was, and because she couldn't get ahead early, she fell off really, really hard in the late mid game to late game without ever getting an advantage. So there are just other champions that completely pushed her to the side. And again, until I get to play with this new stuff, you never know.
Let's speak of Gragas, like DeClawd tried to transition into a moment ago. Base HP regen per second reduced to 1.1 from 1.7356. That number.
Gadzooks.
What a number.
HP regen per second per level reduced to 0.1 from 0.17. Barrel. Okay, so first of all, they just hit his regen really hard so that he can't regen, because he's already got a bunch of passive regen baked into his passive. That he doesn't
Passive
need.
regen in that passive.
Yeah, he doesn't need the extra health regen.
So much regen, it's redundant.
Yeah, pretty much. You could walk through the entire jungle and be at full life by the end of it.
They hit that, and they also reduced the duration on the barrel roll Q.
Yeah, I was moving into that next. Barrel roll Q, slow duration reduced to 1.3 seconds from 2 seconds. The slow duration now scales up to 150% as the cask ferments. So they got rid of the initial pop slow that make it harder for him. He has to decide how he wants to use his Q now. Does he want the extra slow or make him pass through it? But to be honest, anybody who's using barrel roll Q isn't going to let the cask ferment unless it's in a team fight. So that is really just a giant nerf.
Unless they're using it as like a zoning tool or to keep people out of a certain spot, that lost quite a bit of effectiveness right there.
Yeah, 0.7 seconds, the slow duration, is enough for
pretty big.
a flash or a movement for anything, anybody with decent latency.
So on Surrender at 20 at least, the note says that this means the slow will approximately be the same as the Q was before if you fully let it charge.
I feel like this is the change they wanted to make the first time they made it so the damage goes up as it sits over time. But then Gragas became this tank as opposed to a damage dealer, and people weren't using Q anymore to deal damage. They were just using it for the CC. So now they decided to change their approach and be like, oh, okay, well now we have to make it affect the slow instead.
Yeah, because it takes
their end goal is try to create some dynamic uses for Q, which it just makes it harder to use.
When you have an ability that is immovable and takes time to charge up, it's either going to be useless or it's pretty much going to be useless unless it has some kind of innate utility into it, like the slow.
It depends on the scaling. Like I don't think 1.3 second slow is useless, but I see what you're saying. Right. I mean, if it's only worthwhile if it's at full max, then yeah, it's a bad ability.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case here.
Yeah. Well, the difference between this is that let's take barrel roll and compare it to like Ekko and his W, where they both take 3.5 to 4 seconds. Gragas's Q actually takes longer to ferment than Ekko's W does to land.
That's fine though. Like the another issue with this, and this is kind of why I'm okay with the barrel roll nerfs. We'll just call them nerfs. Because if you knew what you were doing on Gragas and you had the right amount of CDR, whoever you were chasing was not getting away from you with your Q. I mean, you could perma slow somebody until they were dead if they even got to run that far from you.
Doing that
and the difference
between Q and body slam.
Yeah,
you bring up Echoes as a comparison, but the barrel at least slows you right away.
I was bringing up more of the time that it take to arm it, not the utility.
Right, to fully arm.
Well, and the difference.
That's true.
The difference is also you only get to see if you're playing against Ekko the last portion of that, whereas as soon as Gragas throws it, you see the barrel immediately, and you have that much amount of time to get out of it.
And it changes color. For God's sakes, like it turns red when it's fully fermented. Like there's a lot.
Yeah, it gets scary.
That's the only reason I say the whole. I'm not arguing anything. I'm just trying to point out that the fermenting cask is a cool idea in thematics because fermenting is a piece of brewing, and he's a drunken fool.
Tell us about home brewing, Pone.
No, I wasn't getting into that.
Translator, let's transfer this right into the home brewing podcast.
All right, so guys, when you add yeast to the barrel, it ferments, and then it takes 4 seconds for it to ferment and turn red. And when it's done red,
that could be a home brew.
It explodes, and it slows everybody that you are standing around it.
I almost feel like I'd be more okay with this change if the radius of Q slowly grew bigger as it fermented as well.
Yeah.
Like that would make more sense to me because then it's like, okay, they have this much amount of time to get out of it, but if they don't react fast enough, it's still potentially going to hit them.
You want Cassiopeia's miasma.
Yeah, Cassiopeia's W.
Does that grow more potent over time, though? I mean, I know the AoE increases, but do the numbers increase on that?
No, it just AoE increases.
I didn't think so.
Just
okay, but yeah,
it kind
that same
of
growing
because
mechanic.
you're stuck in it longer. So I guess that in a way increases the duration as you're trying to get out.
Does this pull Gragas out of S tier jungler? I think this allows way for other people to jump in not in front of him.
Like Elise. Now that we revisit that question.
Well, we'll see. Give me a couple weeks to just play the
more like
out of that champion.
Rek'Sai is allowed to now go into. I mean, Rek'Sai is already S tier, but it allows him to be S tier 0.1.
Is she really S tier though?
I should say.
I mean, I'm not. I see a lot of Gragas bans, but if Gragas goes away, I'm not going to start banning Rek'Sai. It doesn't necessarily frighten me.
Professional scene. We have to make the difference between professional and solo queue in here. I don't think this changes him for solo queue because solo queue is kind of crazy all over the place. How Phil's got the highest percentage win rate in solo queue, for God's sakes, and you don't see him in professional play. This really is a professional play hit.
Wukong's been in like the top 5 solo queue top laners in like the past 2 years, and we have seen him in professional play like a couple times early last season.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
before they nerfed him because they were seeing him all the time.
If there's anything here, this entire change, this entire kit's a professional hit. I don't think this is a solo queue hit by any means.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets hit too hard here. Gragas players can still play him without losing sleep.
Yeah, he just has a little bit less life coming out of the jungle, which really isn't a big deal because your ganks are so overwhelming that you are forcing the person to go back and you're not going to be dying in your first couple ganks that you're going to be executing. So I think that's something that we should probably start doing. It's just so everybody knows here in the podcast, we probably should start talking about those in the terms of what these changes are affecting. Are they affecting solo queue or pro play? Because there is definitely a distinction between how these characters are being played for those. For example, Lux, this is like a solo queue Lux play, and I could definitely see it rolling into professional play at some point. And that's I think this pushes Lux. If she was B tier, she's now A tier, for example. So Prismatic Barrier W now shields Lux immediately. Giant quality of life change.
Yeah,
huge quality of life
Yeah.
change. Lucent Singularity E, you are now able to pre-detonate E rather than a small delay once it lands. Now,
Like
you all
change
understand how
pretty
this works, but I want to tell those people out there in podcast land who may not understand why this is a big deal. Because before, you threw E out, and there was a 0.5 second delay roughly before you could pop it.
Yep.
As soon as it lands, you could pop it, and that's huge.
You can pop it. You can pop it beforehand, and when it lands, it'll pop automatically. It's the exact same change they did to Ziggs with his satchel charge, which is huge if you play Ziggs and you felt the old satchel charge and then the new one. You can pre-blow it up.
And plus,
You don't-
this
you
also
don't have to worry
allows
about it.
you, if you can time things well with your Prismatic Barrier, and it now shields Lux immediately instead of on the rebound. That's amazing to be able to eat some front-loaded damage if somebody's trying to all-in you as well.
And you get the
so.
shield on the way back, too, if you position yourself properly to continue the fight. Yeah, that's why I say, like, to me, Prismatic Barrier, giant change, love it. But being able to pop Lucent Singularity, you throw
huge.
it in a bush, and while somebody's running away, to pop them to get the slow is even bigger than the shield change, in my opinion. Just how many times have you guys played Lux where you, like I said, you've thrown something in a bush to try to stop somebody that just get outside the range because it's 0.5 seconds for them to run away?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't played a lot of Lux, but that was actually a gripe I had with her. Is E just felt unresponsive.
Yeah.
Whenever I throw down my E, I want to pop it right away. You know, you want that damage, but there was that delay there, and it just didn't feel. I didn't like it. It didn't feel
make
good to play
sense,
with.
Right. I apologize.
Just
to
like the
anybody-
Ziggs satchel.
I apologize. Listen to anybody anybody that's listening to proper. That's not going to go listen to Four Wards because Azurishan's probably going to have a conniption talking about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, because
They're going to dedicate 2 episodes.
Let's leave the rest of Lux.
He's
to
been-
him.
he's been
we
tugging-
miss Galio.
he's been tugging on Lux's wand for like the past 8 episodes.
Whoa.
To put it lightly. All right, let's move on to Galio.
Yeah, Galio has some changes coming up, hopefully in this patch, again, tentatively. Idle Durand base damage lowered to 200, 300, 400 from 220, 330 to 440, so everything is just a base 2, 3, 4. Flat numbers. Idle Durand damage now increases by 10% for each attack suffered from 5%. Maximum bonus damage now up to 80%. So now you can do a maximum damage of 360, 540, 720 plus 1.08 AP from 40% with 308, 462, 616. So it's a giant damage increase on his ultimate as long as he's being spec'd.
Yeah, as long as he can get that taunt off, which isn't that hard. It's not. That's a pretty
Support
awesome.
Galio and Callista.
That's a pretty awesome change.
No support Galio. This doesn't change any kind of support Galio by any means.
Throw him in there.
I think
chuck him in
Galio.
there. He'll be ready to go.
I really think Galio has been secret OP in top and mid for a while now. Like, if you really understand how to use that healing from his W by throwing it on an enemy that's going to take a lot of damage, I think that Galio should be played more often.
Ever since the laser turrets were introduced, he can just it heals him so quickly.
Yeah.
When he's getting zapped by the inhibitor turret. So that's a neat little fun thing with Galio, but I don't know. This is a lot of extra damage. It's his utility you really play him for, but now you can blow people up even better. He was really fun in the what was that mode? The overpowered
Aram?
Oh, and
Game
no, in
Earth mode?
yeah, it was
Earth mode. Was it Earth mode? Yeah.
Ultra rapid fire.
But yeah. So I don't know. Maybe the more damage will make the enemies gargoyle assault, but
I will say
knows?
man, I'm fucking Hornet. I will say that's anybody that has an AoE ultimate like Galio or Fiddlesticks is freaking perfect for solo queue because people just tend to gravitate toward walls and they tend to gravitate toward groups instead of on top of each other. That's why, like, if you're playing Galio, honestly, I think it's better to play like a Fiddlesticks, where if you have flash available, you're standing over a wall to flash in and then ulting rather than standing in the front of the line. So that's something to chew on, guys. How to play Galio differently. The what was it? Record today gave me the professional's guide to playing Fiddlesticks. Step 1, stand behind a wall. Step 2, flash over the wall. Step 3, question mark. Step 4, profit.
Oh, by flash you mean ultimate.
You mean
which
ult,
has
then
flash
flash.
built in.
Yes, right.
Okay. Just making sure.
Man,
Because,
who's this
Galio
Grandmaster
does
Fiddlesticks
need to
player?
burn flash, whereas Fiddlesticks does not.
And then there was a whole argument about having to sweep, and Wrecker was like making the argument that if this is a Grandmaster's guide, you should already know how to sweep. And like, it was funny. But yeah,
Words were said. It was very dramatic.
what else is changing potentially on the PBE that we need to talk about?
J4
Ryze,
standard
yeah,
get- buffed.
reduce to 13, 12.5, 12, 11.5, 11. That just means you can EQ more quickly if you drop your standard.
You can use the standard to buff your teammates a little bit more often, I guess.
Oh joy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
Q's got a better missile width.
That's all it is like, great, I can EQ one more time in a fight. But that's only if I get to late game and I'm not already losing. Or I am, if I'm already winning, I'm already far ahead. If I'm losing, I'm far enough behind as J4 that I'm really not going to turn the fight. That's the problem with J4, all in all. That he can cover so much ground and engage a team fight that if he's not building defensively, your team's not catching up. Then again, dunking people with ultimate's a lot of fun. So
I love dunking people with ultimate.
interesting change
I don't
here.
know. It's a standard buff.
Yeah.
Interesting change here to Jax. Grandmaster's Might. You know what's funny about Jax? Just so if you guys haven't been paying attention, Jax has received... I want to say Jax has received nothing but buffs since Season 4.
Well, and here's the thing. Jax is still good.
Yeah. I am pretty certain that he's received nothing but buffs if there wasn't one minor nerf somewhere in there, but it was minor. So Grandmaster's Might are active. Active's armor bonus increased to 30, 50, 70 from 20, 35, 50. Grandmaster's Might magic resist bonus increased to 30, 50, 70 from 20, 35, 50. Meaning the guy who scales really hard with attack damage is now tankier when he jumps in.
Actually, so one of the buffs he got was, again, for Grandmaster's Might, and it was the armor and MR bonus. Mm-hmm. And they lowered the bonus at level 6, but increased it at max rank. And I was wondering at the time, well, okay, so Jax is already really, really weak in the early game, and they're just making his late game that much more terrifying. So fast forward till now, just a buff across the board. Like, you know what? Let's just give him more armor magic resist at all stages of the game.
You know what? I have a feeling this is the way of Riot, where no matter what, you end up seeing like Jackson Rumble at the World Tournament at some point for like the past 3 years. So this is just their way of slightly starting to insert him back into the mix.
We didn't see Jackson Rumble though last year, did we?
Get ready to hear the wump wumps on the inhibitors.
Malachi Singed.
We saw them. I mean, and 2 years
Samsung White
ago
wasn't playing it. Then it was. It was
2 years ago. SKT lit it up with Jax. So
well, I remember that. Yeah, they were the only They were the only team in the world playing Jax at that point in time,
and crushing it.
How would you build Jax now? Would it warrant anything in the new defensive tree based on this to help synergize with it, like that adaptive armor?
I think we're going to wait to talk about the defensive changes until it actually comes out.
Until they hit
through.
When they actually go through.
Curious with Jax.
I don't think you're going to go 921 on Jax if that's what you're hinting.
You got to go real deep for that new adaptive armor. So
No, you won't go 921 as Jax. If anything,
yeah.
you're going to do a split build. But more than likely, you're going to do 21-9 because Jax with 3% increased damage is just a maniac because he scales so hard with damage already.
Well, and he's already that champion that if you go even with somebody, you hit a point right around 6 where you can borderline 1v1 anybody you want as long as they don't pay attention to when you have your ult hits ready. And then you jump on them and you dump all the damage in the game on them and then you W them in the face.
Yeah, funny thing about Jax is now you have to pay attention to your cooldowns as well as his cooldowns, because if you don't pay attention to how many auto attacks he's done, he's going to smack you in the face and you're going to regret it. But yes, I do see this making Jax come back more. Again, professional play buff. Solo queue, Jax really isn't that powerful right now because he's not a big early and mid game bully where solo queue seems to like those. But
I still think it's for my level of play, solo queue level of play. I still think it's pretty helpful to have that bonus increase in the early game.
Yeah.
And I played a Jax game a few days ago against Aurelia, and those fights are really, really close. And if I had this 10, 15 extra magic resistant armor, that could have been the difference between her dying and me dying.
It's not just that, too. Like, you want to look at it, his ult lasts a while once you pop it as well. And it's not just that it lasts a while, but it lasts a while in team fights. And if you're a big enough threat where they have to deal with you, that's that much tankier potentially that you are, that your team is able to smack them for them having to deal with you, or else you're going to kill somebody. So it's harder. It's going to be harder to kill a champion that's already hard to itemize defensively against.
pretty
Good way
much.
to put it.
Yeah, best way to deal with Jax was to kill him. Now it's harder to do so.
Yep.
Ryze changes in the PBE. Arcane Mastery passive stack duration lowered to 10 seconds from 12 seconds. Supercharged duration down to... it is down to 2.5 seconds, increasing to 3, 3.5, 4 to 5 seconds based on Q's rank from 6 seconds flat. So supercharged duration doesn't last nearly as long unless you put ranks into Q. Tooltip no longer mentions spells cool down to a minimum of 0.25 seconds. Q overloads damage has been increased to 60, 95, 130, 165, 200 from 65, 95, 120, 155, 185.
All I see from this is Man Riot really wants you to max Q.
Mana cost changed to 40 at all ranks from 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, which is reminiscent of pre-rework Ryze when they increased his Q mana cost to make it so he couldn't hit you as hard. New passive effect. Arcane Supercharged duration is increased to 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5 seconds, so they removed that from the passive and pushed it onto Q. Line width increased to 55 from 50. So, as Chiro said, they just really want you not to max E.
Yeah,
Please level Q.
They couldn't have put Q on a bigger platter than it's currently sitting.
Right.
Yeah, the TLDR, they removed the passive effect and put it onto Q to force you to max Q to get the cooldown reduction on your spells. Or to get the Arcane Mastery, the passive duration increase, rather. Rune Prison W, damage changed to 80, 100, 120, 140, 160. Big damage increase from 65, 95, 125, 150, 185. Root duration changed to 1 from 0.75, and it scales up to 1.4. Actually, the duration at max rank is lower than the duration at max rank previously, which was 1.75.
Same with the damage. It's greater earlier, lower later.
All these changes is to stop the oppressive mid-game Ryze that could perma-root somebody, mid to late-game Ryze, which could perma-root somebody with W, and to force you to do less AoE damage unless your passive was procced. Plus, you were getting every time E hit, the passive procced as well. If the E smacked between people, reducing the cooldown of Q
for
and
each
W.
one of the bounces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But don't quote. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's how that worked to make it so that you had a perma-root and W.
Shield's always up.
That would make sense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there you go, guys. I think Ryze, like a lot of you, I think there's a lot of us that already have been banning Ryze because he's pretty oppressive in lane now that
they've buffed him over and over again
now that
for a while.
Continually buff him, yeah.
Well, I mean, they made this minor rework for him, and they just seem to be having some trouble getting him in the right spot. But thankfully, they have all these levers, right?
Yeah,
levers and buttons.
All
to press.
these levers.
I don't even think it's
here.
necessarily that they're having trouble getting in the right spot. They're having trouble getting people to play him the way that they had envisioned he should be played.
Don't say that because
mixture
people are
of
going to
both.
get so mad that you said that. Because Riot is like, you can play any champion anywhere. We love that. But then we change these, make these changes to the queues to make you play.
I'm just saying they did just make Q the only thing to level early.
Right.
Yeah, that is kind of leading people how to do it.
No, that's not leading.
But you know
that's
what?
making it not an option to pick anything else.
Fight the power. Fight the power. One rank in
No,
Q.
he just ain't gonna happen.
One rank Q,
You-
max
you-
E, fuck it.
You
Let's
need
go.
that. You need
Yep.
that extra. You need that extra
the power.
duration on your passive to be able to shoot more spells and do more damage. So you need the max Q at this point. Though I'll be honest, Ekko and Ryze don't really scare me. I ban them for other people at this point because I'm scared of what other people will do. But if it was up to me, I'd just leave them up and let people play them because I think the counterplay comes into playing against the person rather than the person playing into you. Like understanding how to outplay their abilities or weave through their abilities is more of the outplay than the person using their abilities against you.
Yeah, but Ekko is a good one to ban in solo queue, I think, just because he is so slippery and tricky. It's just you have to do so much just to pin him down. You always have to worry about the 4 seconds of him using his ult to erase things, and he can just buy time for his team, literally, with his kit. So I still like to ban Ekko.
Pun?
Yeah, it was non-intentional, which is rare, but it was not intentional. But it does buy time. It's
It's
kind
so
of
natural for you now.
almost
They
zoning.
just flow out.
I can't help it. It's automatic now. So I don't know. Solo queue dealing with Ekko, a good Ekko. Like you said, maybe you don't ban him because chances are people pick him because he's not banned, and then you get that bad Ekko player. But it could be on your team too. So I just ban him and say to hell with it. Let's get him out of here. He's too much to worry about right now until they get him in a better place.
We'll move on to talk about Trundle because this is the 4th patch in a row that Trundle has been buffed.
Well, we talked about Lux for Asder. Now we're going to talk about Trundle for Doom.
No. Doom has renounced the Trundle love as of today.
You know what?
so.
Maybe
He worships
maybe,
Wukong now.
Yeah, maybe he says, God, screw Wukong. Maybe
He's just monkeying around.
maybe he says this because he Riot clearly with these buffs have decided that they're listening to 4 words and taking it as the gospel.
No,
and are
they
moving
ha-
forward to buff all of the 4 words hosts' favorite
Yes.
champions.
I love
and
that they continually buff
Nice.
Trundle in the, we'll use air quotes of tank meta,
Tank
because
meta.
it's not necessarily tank. It's like utility or people who can blow people up really fast meta. Like you see
utility with
Rengar's.
Cinder Hulk meta.
Yeah, utility with Cinder Hulk. But so Trundle has had an increase to his W, has had an increase to his passive, has had an increase to now his ultimate as well over the course of, and he's had an increase to E. Over the course of 4 patches, Trundle has been nothing but buffed, and there is nobody playing this champion ever. Like right now, guys,
It's ours turn.
if you are, R has a change where it is now draining more health. 2020.
A whole lot more health. And guess
A lot.
what?
It goes to
Not
35%
only-
at max rank. Rank 5.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
35% from 28 at max rank. All right. That isn't just damage done. That's health returned to you from the damage done.
Okay, I'm throwing this out there right now because I'm going to say it, the majority of our listeners are below the rank of gold, okay? The majority of our listeners are the people who are really trying to find those cues and stuff to understand this game.
That makes a ton of sense since the majority of players are silver and below.
Yeah, that's not a stab at you. That's not a stab at your skill. That's just the fact of the matter, right? If in silver or below, Nasus, that is the fucking top lane go-to pick. I swear to God, silver players love Nasus. If you want a counter pick to Nasus, fucking
Trundle.
pick Trundle. Dude,
Yeah,
Trundle
that's
shit
frustrating as
all
hell.
over Nasus. Like, just completely dominates that lane.
Yeah, and that's like, I ult. And Trundle's like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Now
Not
it's like,
anymore.
I'm going to ult.
Let me
Trundle's
take
like,
that away.
give me a third of your health and then die faster. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you wanted to run at my team? You're dead.
I love playing Trundle, so I'm excited for this. I like it. I like
Reason
it
I
a
bring
lot.
that up, I mean, Trundle, if Trundle isn't being picked right now, I don't know what else they can do to change Trundle's kit to make
Rework him a third time?
pick. The only way that, if Trundle isn't being picked right now into the tank meta, meaning when the tank meta passes, Trundle is not going to be good at all. So right now, when he could thrive, he's not being picked for whatever reason. So what does that mean for Trundle in the future?
I mean,
it means they're gonna make his auto attack. So when you put up a pillar, he can smack the club whichever direction you choose, and it knocks the pillar over and blocks off more space.
That is genius.
or
So
you
you put
just
the pillar up, and then you block it off whichever way you choose in a fight.
That'll separate the good Trundles from the great Trundles.
Hell yeah.
clearly.
Dude, Chira, I just had an epiphany. Remind me after I have to fucking
All
tell
right.
you something. I just
also-
had an epiphany.
Also, I want to say, I know the people that are playing Trundle right now are running like pretty big max CDR Trundle builds, so they can basically have a perma pillar, and doing 15% more damage on your ult and getting that much more health back with really low
CDR.
cooldown on it from all that CDR. That just makes it so you can basically negate somebody that's tanky on their team anytime you want to start
Every
a fight.
fight.
Yeah,
Yep.
and not only that, but
'Cause
like.
it's got-
It's also before you could just use it if you were hurting in lane a little bit to get that much health back or to scare somebody
Right.
off or whatever, and now you're getting that much more damage.
if you're like me, who inspired the team named DeClawd's low mana bars, where I stay way too long in my lane in the initial phase, when I hit 6, I will do exactly that. I'll use that to get my health back so I can stay in lane a little bit longer.
DeClawd, I just want to point as we segue into Ekko because we're running out of time that I hate
Yes.
you right now because our entire fucking Twitch chat is filled with puns. I don't know how many
Is it?
fucking episodes you've been on.
I can't.
But like,
can't-
oh, there are
I can't go in the
puns
chat.
now.
I can't go in the chat right now. My connection's too twitchy. Well, today, so I can't go in the chat.
I hate you.
Hey, guys, don't
I
worry.
see it. So thank you for telling me.
Guys, don't worry. Nito
going,
Rick
guys.
Alien is in the chat.
Is he punning it up?
No, Nito Rick Alien. Get it? Right? Nick Allen. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wanted to wait. I wanted to see the clown's face.
You know, Adam, that's not even a good joke. Like that wasn't good.
Dude, he's in the chat. It's not
he's
me.
right there.
He's literally in the
That's a
chat.
Well, no, that's fine. I believe
if I
you.
saw it, I would have giggled. I'm trying to imagine it as he's. Oh, okay. All right, there we go.
He's
Trying to
sports.
spell out
Nice,
the word in your
clever.
mind. Yeah, I know. I get it.
Let's talk about Ekko. So we mentioned that Ekko, we don't think he's all that. I mean, we talked about how he's powerful. He was pretty powerful, but as you play him, you learn to play against him. But because of the giant bitch fest that is the League of Legends community, he has been changed. Base mana, that's not nothing. Never mind. Basic attack speed reduced to 0.2625 attacks per second from 0.644. So he attacks a little bit more slowly. Attack speed per level growth increased to 3.3% from 3%. So he has to gain the levels to gain the attack speed, and he actually gains more attack speed as the game goes on.
Yes.
Mana per level increased to 50 from 40. Time Winder, AP ratio initial hit reduced to 0.1 from 0.2. That's the Q. If Q already didn't feel like it was doing a lot of damage when it hit initially, it's going to do less than it did previously. And Chrono Bank mana cost has been increased to 100 from 0 because it had no mana cost to be able to go back. Which, honestly, throughout all of these, I don't care what you want to argue with me. The Chrono Break mana having a mana cost now between all the high mana cost spells is the biggest change out of this kit.
That is
Yeah, I think
definitely.
that's a pretty good change. I mean, it makes the ability less of a face roll, where Ekko can just do whatever the hell he wanted, and whatever bad situation he was in, he could just hit R for free.
Always
You
do it.
actually
Now
need
he's
to pay
gotta-
attention.
Yeah. I mean,
100 mana is a pretty big.
gotta use your
That's a
brain.
chunk.
Considering he probably, what does he start with, like 500 something mana to start with, and by the time he hits 6, a full rotation would leave you with about 200, 300 mana left. Yeah, you
You're
need
gonna
to pay
start
attention.
seeing Echo tier builds.
But also they accommodated for this with the mana growth increase per level.
Serves.
They sure did.
Right.
I mean, it's a bigger change to go from 0 to 100, but
Real
they
quick.
gave him some love back because it's an extra spell he has to spend mana on.
Echo goes
Kinda
from 0
reminiscent
to
of
100
Lucian.
real quick.
the Lucian changes.
Get out.
What was that, Adam?
Nothing.
Echo goes from
I
0
missed
to 100 real quick. That's what he says. He tried to sneak
Well
it
done.
in there.
Thank
It
you.
wasn't good. We're moving on.
That was good. I like it.
It wasn't even that good. It was just a fucking song. You guys said 0 to
You
100.
know what? Not only was it not good, you said it twice before I caught it.
I know. I was trying to see what caught. I should have just let it go.
Well,
I
it's
should have pulled the
Ekko.
call.
He had to go back into the past and say it again.
Boom!
perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense. See, Ekko, get it? Ekko.
Adam, you are so clever. You didn't even know it.
Adam,
That
you
was
are so
amazing.
clever you didn't even know it. Thank you, DeClawd, I know. All right.
The attack speed changes do intrigue me a little bit because I'm wondering if they wanted to take some of his spell damage and move it to his basic attacks. But it's such a slight change. The Time Winder AP ratio reduced from 0.2 to 0.1, and then the attack speed growth increased by 0.3% per level. I don't know. I really want to see the context for this because that's kind of like I said, that's the vibe I think they're going for, but it's really small, and I don't know how many people are going to even notice it.
By the time you get your first attack speed item, you're way higher than you were
But
before.
you're really not building attack speed on Ekko. You're building cooldown reduction and burst damage between Lucidity, Ludens. I've seen Morello Namicon out there because CDR is so powerful on him right now as well that you can build that. So that there is no attack. You don't build Stinger on him, for example.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to take the Ryze
it's an
approach.
extra percent.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're going to take that approach. We can build a champion however you want. And in Ryze's case, they said, so long as you max Q. And in Ekko's case, it might be, so long as you build attack speed. Make him into a Diana type character.
Keep
Diana.
reducing his AP ratios or his base damage, whatever you want on his abilities, and then he might have to build attack speed. And at that point, he's pretty much worthless.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a weird change. I just want to know why they did it.
I don't know. Maybe it's to synergize more with the new Smitem.
Could be.
The Smitem enchantment.
And it also helps with his passive, too.
Dude, Andrew LOL 230 is giving DeClawd a run for his money. I think in time, he might take over DeClawd's spot.
Good. I need a
Master.
legacy. I need someone to carry the torch.
All right, let's move on to Braum. Braum is already pretty powerful right now and as a counter-engaged champion, especially for solo queue, some ranked 5s as well. Winner's Bite damage increased to 70, 115, 160, 205, 250 from 60, 105, 150, 195, 240. Winner's Bite mana cost reduced to 45, 50, 55, 60, 65 from 55, 60, 65, 70, 75.
Didn't they nerf the Winner's Bite damage in the past after his initial release?
Sure they did, yeah.
Yep.
Or like this change.
So
I mean, this is the only thing he's really got going for him in the form of harassment in lane. Otherwise, he's kind of like a melee Janna. Like, I'm here to keep my carry safe. But I mean, I loved playing Braum. I loved harassing with Q. And I think this is completely warranted to give him some love in that ability, which is the only one he can use to harass anything.
Exactly. They had made the mana cost higher before as well. So they're pretty much just reverting some of the nerfs they had on Braum.
Yeah, nothing crazy here. Solo queue buff. Those Braum players that were already playing, we're going to be happy. Anybody else is just kind of like, hey, Braum is here. Guys, you can play Braum. That's what Riot's doing with this change.
I think there's certain matchups they're going to pick him into. This isn't going to make you pick him every game.
And they got his model right. With the bald head, he's nice and rounded no matter how blocky he is.
Oh, yeah, I got it. He's yawning because of how bad it was.
Yeah.
Malphite has some changes coming up, hopefully, in this patch. Brutal Strikes W damage for actives. Additional physical damage lowered significantly. It was 25, 40, 55, 70, 85 plus 1 or plus 0.15 AP ratio. It's been lowered to 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. So 10 damage decrease across the board. Plus an AP ratio.
Scaling.
85 damage for free. A little too much. Just a little bit.
But Mondo still has a 100 AD on his.
They don't care about that.
Yeah.
Let's just
They added an armor ratio, though.
Brutal Strikes has a 0.1 armor ratio has been added to the active's extra damage on hit. Between this and the changes they made last patch to Malphite's W, Riot, which as much as they say they want you to play the champion any way you want to play it, they're really forcing you to build armor on Malphite. They really want you to build tanky Malphite either out of the jungle or the top lane with some kind of additional armor to synergize with this passive to do more damage with building armor.
I think that's just, they're just making that his niche, right? I mean, some characters they want you to, or some characters better in certain situations. That's Malphite's.
I'll never stop playing him AP. You can't make me.
I mean, Malphite's has been for a while to be pick him into an 80 heavy team, but the armor focus wasn't as powerful as it could have been. Which
Oh my
is
god,
what
I
it's
just had
moving
another
into now.
epiphany, Chira. You need to remind me after the game. I got 2 of them
All right.
for you.
right.
Sorry.
The passive on Brutal Strikes gives him more armor now. So
Right.
that increases the damage because they added this 0.1 armor ratio to it. So the damage nerf overall.
And his E already
It's not a
has
nerf.
an armor ratio on it that increases its
Right.
damage. So like
It's making
everything's
up for it.
synergizing for armor.
Yeah. So Punch, you're gonna have to deal with this.
I can't wait.
Your last
top
whisper.
lane.
I'm gonna play him in the top lane.
Second
that.
item,
Top
last
lane,
whisper.
He's so boring to play out of top lane, though. Like, he's...
Spam Q.
Vayne. Vayne into him.
I would just rather play Maokai and actually have fun out of the top lane. Do you even play Maokai, Punch?
I played him once. I won. It was great.
Wow, I'm done with this Twitch chat. I need to walk away. Oh, fucking pickaxe counters Malphite. Malphite is always a rock solid choice. Like, I can't do this anymore, guys. I just can't do it.
Keep throwing them up against the wall. It's great.
You're taking the Malphite
Hey
punch for
Adam,
granted.
Adam, go kick rocks.
Taking it for granted.
A good one, Pods. I like that one.
Adam, you're gonna look back on this podcast with sentimental value, and you're going to, realize that it was really good.
You can go kick rocks.
These puns are falling like an avalanche.
All right, I'd open Twitch chat, but I'm.
No, shut up!
Oh, all right.
I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I have to call a podcast early. I just can't do it. Oh my god.
Aw, we can't talk about the new.
I'm gonna go hide under a
you
rock.
said we weren't
Fuck
going
you
to.
We
guys.
can't talk about how Tryndamere actually can
I know,
get crits
Tryndamere-
off. So
Yeah. He
I
doesn't
guess
cancel himself.
issue with Tryndamere is his critical strike animation took too long. So if you were a good player, and I say that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
you
I
cancel
say
it.
that. Yeah, I said if you were a quote unquote good player and you knew how to
Auto-space.
auto attack, move, auto attack, and still stay basically glued to somebody while you're playing a melee champion, that actually hurt you in some cases because the crit strike animation takes longer than the normal auto attack animation. So
Yeah.
this should fix things. And if you know what you're doing on Tryndamere, which I guess if you were auto attack moving with Tryndamere in the past, you didn't know what you were doing with Tryndamere because you were losing damage before by canceling your own
Right.
auto attacks
And
on
he had
accident.
no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
uh,
his sword animation was a drag.
oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, so what he used to do is he would put his arms over his head with the sword and then go all the way back down. Yeah! Critical strike! And it just took forever compared to his regular auto attack. This is actually a really big change for
It is.
Yeah,
for how it
if
reads.
you know how to orb walk with melee champs, this is going to be very good for people who like playing Tryndamere.
Yeah, I mean, his regular auto attack is really responsive. I can only imagine that with a crit
Well,
in the
that's the
same
best
time
part.
frame. He's gonna kick your ass.
The crit's the part that does the crazy damage.
Yes. Especially seeing it get it off early.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the number of times I've seen a Trundle get first blood just because people disrespect the crit. Like, oh
Right.
yeah, I can take this guy. Oh, I'm dead!
Yeah. Wait a minute. Why are you doing so much damage? Yeah, I've disrespected it before as Pantheon. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna block. Oh, I blocked one, but then the second one took half my life. Okay.
Yeah. So-
I want to see this in action.
It's
With the auto
fucking,
attack
it's an
cancels and
amazing
everything, so-
change. An amazing change.
It is.
It is.
Quality of life, and
Well, no, before those of you
it's
that
gonna
don't know,
affect things.
and you can auto attack cancel because your damage is applied in the middle of your auto attack animation rather than at the end of the auto attack animation. So when you get really good at attack moving, or if you ever wondered why you can attack somebody
timing.
and move and still get the kill, it's because the damage is applied.
If you
halfway
ever
through.
wondered why that Riven just crushed
That
you and
Riven,
you don't know
yeah.
what happened, it's because they probably knew how to auto attack cancel.
And the difference between Trundamere's two attacks was so different. You kind of had to account for the critical strike. Or you had to anticipate it almost.
Yeah.
I mean, you could regular auto move, and then you kind of have to
Well,
stop yourself
especially-
because you see him charging up for the crit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait, don't move yet.
This is huge too in the early game, in that if you're able to build enough rage to get those crits off, and you're putting yourself, because you're playing a melee champion, in a potentially bad spot within enemy minions or something else like that, and you went to land that crit Like you went to land that damage and it was a crit and you started backing off before the animation finished. You didn't get that damage off. And how big are crits in the early game?
Yeah.
That's why 1% crit rune is a thing, because 200 damage compared to the 100
is significant when you only have a small pool of health.
A small pool of health and a small number of auto attacks you get off, because it takes, again, you're doing one auto attack every, or you're doing, what is it, 0.644? I can't even remember how to fucking...
Let's go back to Ekko.
Yeah, I'm going to read it, because I actually can't say it right here. Is that you get 0.625 attacks per second. That's how to put it. Especially when you're only getting, it takes you over a second to do an auto attack. That's how I was looking to do it. Well, guys, we're running out of time. We should probably rewind.
Let's revisit
and revisit some of the podcast notes.
Yeah, we'll echo a little bit of this conversation on Wednesday when they hit.
Do you guys hear a reverb? I keep hearing the same thing over and over again.
Listen, this podcast was rock solid. I don't want to hear any more about it. Okay.
People might come back for seconds.
I almost feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place.
You guys aren't supposed to be joining in. Come on, you're overloading me with these. Let's go.
Oh, you're just scrolling through the notes. Reading the double D's. Ryze, overload.
Guys, I need you to be like Ash and have a Ranger's focus.
All right, let's
what, DeClawd?
You know what?
Finish the sentence.
If we keep up with all these puns, we're going to make this a Demacian standard.
and you really ferment that.
Chira, I need you all to do a barrel roll into Wednesday's podcast where we're going to talk about the defensive mastery changes. And we're going to talk about it.
Durant.
Maybe.
This podcast should be your idol, Durant. You should put this podcast up on a mantle and just look up at it as the best podcast you've ever had.
All right.
Sure.
Let's use that and segue out of here.
You know, Jungle Jibs has segues.
Segue, I don't see that in the patch notes.
Yeah, wait. I need to scroll through. Is there word segue? Hold on. Wait.
Control F.
DeClawd, you ruined it.
Yep.
All right, guys. We try to segue well and you kill it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to episode number 270 of the podcast. I enjoy having every single one of you here. Please join us again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you get this podcast after the fact, please download it again on Friday. Again, Trinity Force proper is 2 times a week, guys. And by the way, I'm doing that on purpose. You'll see on Thursday. Guys, we'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya.
Bye.